of people ask me about PlayStation Now, and they finally came up with their rental subscription pricing and stuff, and the amount of titles that they were going to have available for the rental subscription. And PlayStation Now is supposed to be available on TVs at some point. I don't know if it's happening right now or in the future, but anyway, and it's on PlayStation 4, and it's supposed to be on some other shit, but the pricing and the actual content availability was something that a lot of people want to know my honest-to-goodness opinions on. So I figured, fuck it, why not go and make a video about such a thing? To begin with, number one, 20 bucks a month or $40 for 3 months. And I looked at that price and I'm like, why don't you just charge 99 bucks a year? Actually, I would prefer it to be a lot cheaper, but 99 bucks a year would, you know, that pretty much put you in league with Amazon Prime. And if you're going to be offering up a shit ton of content that you're promising, supposed to be in the future, because apparently they're going to have PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games, in addition to all the PlayStation 3 games that are on there, then that's kind of cool in that sense. Though most people are honest, just going to be like, yeah, you know what I wish for? Backwards compatibility, because you got an entire fucking library. Boom! Right there! Don't feel like going and paying for a subscription service for games that I already have, and the few titles that I don't have is all that's on there and doesn't really equal out to whatever amount that you're fucking asking for, and be kinda stupid for me to go and pay for, right? But I was looking at this, and I mean, say for example, somebody didn't have a PlayStation 3 or didn't really invest heavily into last generation. Is this worth it? It depends on what titles that you want to play. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I tell anybody, just look at the content that's available. Is that worth it to you? I can't go in and say, oh yeah, this is fucking worth every single penny, because that would just be my personal opinion on it. It is going to change from person to person, from gamer to gamer, and that's the end of it. You know, did you play the first Uncharted, for example? Oh, you didn't play it? Okay, that's one title right there. Can you get Uncharted for pretty damn cheap? Yeah, you can. You can get it for like about $5, $10, some shit like that, assuming you have a PlayStation 3. Or if you only have a PlayStation 4 and you have you want to get PlayStation Now, think about that. But I just, like, they have Arkham City on there, they have Infamous, they have the Dead Island games. I can't think of all the fucking titles that they had on there. Put it this way, it's quite a few. I know that they said over 100 titles, and I started thinking about it. I'm like, okay, over 100 titles, and if you just look at that as one big package deal, over 100 titles, and you're paying 20 bucks a month, alright? So, that right there, obviously, those 100 titles, even after the entire year's worth of subscription, you aren't going to get that 100 titles for that much. Assuming you played every single one of those games and got your full money's worth. You know, and then you also have to think about, there's competition out there. You know, look at something like Gamefly, for example. I actually have Gamefly. So, and I've been using Gamefly because I sure as fuck can't afford all brand new games as soon as they drop. So to me, I'm like, okay, well, PlayStation Now is going up against that. Well, Gamefly allows me to go and get things from PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Nintendo Wii, Nintendo Wii U, Nintendo 3DS, Nintendo DS, PSP and PlayStation Vita, GameCube, Xbox, and PlayStation 2. That's a lot of shit right there. That's just a fucking ton of stuff by comparison. Though, they're like 23 bucks a month. So, by comparison, you have to start doing the math and think about, okay, you can only get 2 games a month, but you get the actual physical games, and you have the option to be able to keep it. With PlayStation Now, you're streaming these games. Now, streaming the games is kind of nice because you can get them automatically streamed right to your fucking place. Biggity bam, there you go. Downside to that is if you have shit internet. Obviously, if you have shit internet, you aren't going to be streaming anything, and you don't want to do something like that, just doing part to an internet connection going and failing on you. That would be fucking terrible. That's some shit right there I'd lose my goddamn mind over. And especially, just imagine if it occurs, you know, right in the middle of something before you got to that next save, and you just lost a bunch of shit. I'd lose my fucking goddamn mind over something like that. But then, going further into this, Sony has been under attack how many fucking times from hackers? If you're paying month to month to month for a subscription service to be able to stream games, and then the PlayStation Network goes down, which it has gone down quite a few fucking times, because they apparently can't patch their shit up to be able to go and, avoid all these attacks, then a streaming service like this, it's going to be null and void, isn't it? So that's something that they should be taking into account right fucking there. So then I wonder this, what all titles are you going to have available? Because I noticed while going through, there's quite a few titles in there that I played through and I've beaten and I liked a lot. Like the Darksiders 1 and 2, for example, other titles that I'm now just remembering are on there. But Darksiders 1 and 2, those games are badass as shit, and I like those a whole bunch. And all the other titles that I had mentioned before, there's also some racing games and fighting games like Dead or Alive. But I wondered, where are the RPGs? As a big fan of RPGs, that's something I'd want to see on there. You need to go and hit up like Namco or some shit and be like, yeah, we need some of the Tales games on there. I think Final Fantasy 13 is on there. But fuck Final Fantasy 13. Fuck it right in the asshole. Like, I don't give a shit about that. I want actual RPGs. Oh, get Alice on that shit. We need 3D Game Heroes on that motherfucker. And Sony, why the fuck haven't you put Folklore on there? I'm just saying, that's like your own property, and that's not even on there. I found that shit confusing. I'm like, what's it? It's not even like you re-released Folklore at all, so just toss that shit on there. And there's also the fact that these aren't just the physical releases of games on there, it's also a lot of the digital releases through PSN. And that was something I thought was kind of weird. I'm like, why can't we get the PSN games onto PSN on PlayStation 4? I don't really know how all that works exactly. I'm sure that there's some shit that they would have to go and change up, but there's a lot of games that I have on PSN that now I can't access on PlayStation 4. Also, any of the PlayStation 2 classics and the PS1 classics. But they want to make up for all this with the PlayStation Now service, but that's double dipping. You're expecting people to double dip after they went and they invested into the new hardware, even though they had already bought that stuff. And that to me is asking a lot of people, and some folks aren't going to look at it quite like that, but to any of the individuals who have heavily invested into last gen or even the gens before that, and then see something like this, it's not even a matter of convenience anymore, it's a matter of, well, that kind of sucks, I already bought this shit. See the problem with that right there? You know, and back to the pricing is something that it's going to end up being high or low depending on how much you game and what all titles you're interested in playing. And that's really the fucking truth of the matter. You know, if you plan on going and playing a fucking ton of these games, then you're going to get the most use out of these. You know, that's going to make a ton of sense. If you're just like, yeah, last gen I played like pow, that many titles, then obviously some shit like this is going to be worth it to you. But I'd say ultimately, look at the available list, look at the shit that they have, and this rental service and this subscription service is a lot better than the shit that they were doing before, where it was like each individual game, it's like, well, you can pay this much for playing for hours, or you can rent this game for X amount of days. It was just, that was fucking dumb as all bloody hell. I couldn't wrap my head around that shit. After they like, the actual idea and concept behind it, I thought was pretty damn cool. I'd even talked about it because there's a whole lot of foundation right there that you can go and build off of. But once they announced the pricing and the way that they were going about it was so fucking ass backwards. 1 step forward, 5 steps back. Why would you even do it that way? You know, to me, I think that they ought to stick with this subscription service, abandon all the other dumb shit, and they're like, yeah, you can just rent this for like a couple hours or something, and then it's gonna be this much for this many. No, that's too goddamn confusing. Look at shit like Netflix, look at shit like Hulu. You know, look at those, you pay one price, that's what you got for the entire month going forward, and that's it. You know, I just worry about all the other factors of actual content availability, you know, whether or not the service is going to be up depending on, oh, well, our security's been breached again, and nobody wants to go and entrust you with their personal information if shit like this is happening all the time, and you can't go and push a product like this if your fucking service is constantly down. And I don't want to hear any fucking excuses from anyone out there. Well, excuse me. No, there is no fucking excuses. You don't make excuses for a company that's haphazardly allowing this shit to go and happen when they're fucking aware of it, and it's only going to damn the individuals and the consumers who go and support the fucking product, and whenever it's their personal information that's on the fucking line. So don't make excuses for that kind of fucking crap, because that's when it is allowed to go and happen over and over and over again. So fuck off with that mentality. Fuck out of here with that shit. I hate when people fucking do that. If a company fucks up, whether you like them or not, you call them on their bullshit. Boom! That logic bomb, look at that. But is this going to be worth it? Like I said, it's all up to you. This motherfucker can't tell you whether or not. For me personally, PlayStation Now is not worth it. I've already got a bunch of the games. Unless they're gonna be saying, oh yeah, it's $10 a month. And we're putting lots of shit on there that you have not actually experienced, which would be a ton of, I guess, digital-only games, maybe? I've got over 100 PlayStation 3 games, so I don't know what the fuck you're gonna have on there. And on top of that, with the PlayStation 3 life cycle, like, it's starting to near its finish line, games are getting even cheaper on there, so I can just scoop them up for dirt-ass cheap. That's my personal preference right there. I like to have the physical catalog of titles. That's just me. Because once Sony says something, imagine if they go and they abandon this entire thing. They're just like, yeah, we're done with, you know, PlayStation Now, fuck all this shit, we're done with it. Then all of that investment that the actual individual gamer had for that is kind of poof, up in smoke. And I know somebody will say, oh, they're not going to do something like that. But eventually these services go down. They go away. That's all that there is to it. I mean, I do like the idea that they're going to have this on multiple platforms and available to you, because the idea of playing PlayStation 3 games on a ton of different things is a really cool experience. But I have a PlayStation 3. So, do you have a PlayStation 3? Do you have all those games on there? Do you have a steady internet connection? Do you actually trust Sony with your personal information? These are all factors right there that you need to take into account. Do you have that much money per month to be able to go and shell out for that? And do you game enough to be able to get the most money out of that? Some people are fucking money bags and just tossing fucking G's out of their goddamn pockets like nobody's business. They have fucking stripper poles lining their entire fucking house with fucking bitches just fucking grinding on them, leaving a fucking stink trail going up and down them. So naturally, they can throw money at this and not even give a fuck whatsoever. But to anybody that's got a kind of tight budget, you know, take that into account. Hell, if you have a tight budget, maybe something like this does work for you, because you can't go out there and get tons of these fucking games for dirt ass cheap by comparison to what's already readily available to you. Bam, right there. You know, and again, also look at the competition. You have Gamefly, which is like the biggest rental service I can think of outside of Redbox. But Redbox only has a couple titles each time that you can go and get, and you can't really get too many PlayStation 3 games now, because they pretty much just focus on the like newest titles, which is PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Wii U. So that's just a thought right there. I don't even know if Blockbuster still does the online shit, do they? I have no fucking clue. Anyway, so there's opinions and thoughts. Me, I try to be unbiased as fucking possible. For me personally, it's not my cup of tea. But, like I said, it's all up to the people out there who are thinking, should I actually get this? I have no clue. I have a monocle. Nope, too, because I'm a classy motherfucker. Anyway, opinions, thoughts, feelings, PlayStation Now, yay, nay, don't give a fuck, doesn't matter. This is AlphaOmegaSin, as always, nerds, nerdettes, and gamers. Game the fuck on.